Friends, welcome to another episode of the What's Have You Said podcast, and the very first episode that is in video format on YouTube. I'm really excited to be able to hopefully expand the podcast, hopefully bring more people in and give you an opportunity to watch it and see conversations in a different way. I think there's a lot of value that comes from being able to see the faces, being able to see the emotions, being able to see the joy that is just being experienced, because there are those gaps when you're recording. So I'm very excited about that. Today's episode has been planned for a while, and I kind of discussed this in the intro, but I'm sitting down to talk with the beautiful and wonderful Zoe Renee. I love her. She and I met several years ago doing a project together, and I really hope that as we're continuing conversations, as we're all looking to educate ourselves on what we can do better, how we can use our voices, where we can go from here, that this is a conversation that allows just for more conversations to happen, that we can provide you with some resources, that we can give you an honest opinion on the fact that educating yourself on voting right now can feel really challenging when it feels like all you're getting is constant negativity and a very biased opinion from news sources and things of that nature. And we talk about that. I want to ask you guys to make sure that you rate and review the podcast on iTunes, because my plan over the next few weeks, over the next few months, is to continue to bring in people, to bring in small businesses, to bring in people whose voices need to be heard and have really great products and really great things that they want to share and really great stories. But we can't be heard if we aren't sharing, we aren't liking, we aren't making it so that people can find us and people can hear about these small businesses. Because I think right now the biggest thing that we can do is support those small businesses. So those conversations will be going forward. I hope that you guys can help me by helping spread the word about the podcast, whether you're liking it on YouTube, sharing it on YouTube, following it, following me on Instagram, following creators, just making sure that you're engaging with the content that we're creating. The more you do that, the more, especially on YouTube, the bigger we get, the more that we can bring in ad revenue to kind of offset some of the costs and make sure that we can continue this conversation and that it is also financially possible. Because if we're all completely honest, we all have to work, we all have to do things that pay our bills, and this is a smaller space and a smaller scope right now. And I would love to be in a place, in a position to where we really have the control and power over what we're creating, and that we can continue to create and have whatever conversations are needed to be had. But we can only do that if you guys are backing it and we are able to financially fund this in a way that works for that. So that is my request from you. I'm really excited for you guys to hear this episode. For all of my film kids who are looking to get into acting, who are looking for resources, who are looking to kind of navigate becoming an actor and finding an agent and things like that. But for those of you who just want to have a conversation or want to hear a story of hope, because Zoe has killed it and she's done an amazing job, and I'm so proud of her, so grateful to know her, and I'm so excited for you to hear today's episode. Yeah, so let's get into it.
Hey Angel, how are you?
You know what? I am hanging in there. Obviously, we are 2020 is giving us a run for our money, but I am definitely hanging in and trying to do the best I can to kind of just stay up,
Are you 21 yet? Can we send you alcohol for this?
Yeah, I know. I'm 23 now. Isn't
Oh,
that
praise the Lord. At least you can have a drink if you want one.
yes. Yeah. It's definitely helped a little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
I feel like I've become a new bartender. I've developed skills I never knew that I needed / wanted in the last few
Well, that's
months.
the great thing about quarantine is that I've just developed the same thing. I'm a DJ, a roller skater, like I'm doing all these things that I dreamed of doing. And so as much as it sucks, it's been a really nice time to kind of just figure out what I've always wanted to experience and try.
I know I've had a lot of conversations, obviously more like talking to film friends where, everybody's schedule's so like you just passing ships kind of thing, that it's possible to kind of have these conversations right now, because otherwise you'd be like, here's my like teeny tiny window between where I sleep and where I need to do this and where I need to do that.
I know. It's been interesting. I cannot complain though. I mean, it's been a very eye-opening couple months. I mean, I was in New York for a month and a half shooting a project, and so I was in there at the very beginning of this entire thing. So they sent me home the next day, just trying to get me out the city before everything kind of went down. So it's been really interesting, like going through this whole thing. So
Well, it's good that production was paying attention
oh,
and
they were very, very on it, on the ball the entire time. So I'm really grateful for that. They saved, you know, saved us in a big way.
are you back in Atlanta?
I am. I'm in Atlanta. I'm home at my parents' house. I've just kind of been outside, just trying to get as much sun as possible, and you know, hanging in there.
Are you still based out of Atlanta
I am. I am.
to
Um,
whatever degree?
but I'll be a little bit bi-coastal when everything opens back up. So I'm switching my whole living situation up here in Atlanta, and then I'll be heading to New York to finish that project, and then back and forth from LA. So I'll be everywhere. I'll be everywhere.
I want to give the disclaimer that we were going to have this conversation before we went into whatever chapter of Revelations we're on this week.
Right.
That that
Yes.
was kind of where we're at, but
Right.
I think that there's more conversations and things that have come to light this week that we will probably discuss and maybe we wouldn't have before. I've been keeping an eye on things and trying to educate myself and make sure that what I'm learning as people are speaking out right now changes the decisions that I make going forward. And I imagine that is something that you're doing as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think now more than ever is a time. Um, I'd have to say that specifically, um, there's learning for everyone to do in this moment. I think what I've seen and what I'm proud of is the white people in my life just allowing there to be a moment to say, okay, well, I need to educate myself on current events and figure out exactly what I need to do and how can I help, basically. um and so it's been really encouraging for the most part of just friends and allies of mine that have been so willing to put boots on the ground and just go, you know say what we need and get justice. And so I think um it's been a really interesting time. But yeah, like you, I'm trying to educate myself as well. What can I do and how can I help and how can I use my platform to help as well? um People are hurting, so it's a time where I'm hurting. It's a time where I'm trying to figure out how to do my best to make sure that my brother is safe. And so and we're in a really interesting time right now. I think all of us are just needing to kind of take a second, take a breath, and educate ourselves.
I agree. I was scrolling through Instagram before we hopped on this call, and I've been going through and kind of I think initially my thought process was in that kind of disconnect between getting to do what you love, but
Hmm.
also having more eyes on you because you're getting to do what you love. And I think when
Mhm.
people see your name on a social media platform and then they see a number behind it that's over a certain amount, they expect you to comment and be a part of conversations that maybe you need to take a second before you add to. And that's been at least what I've seen in the fact that the best thing that I could say was I need to educate myself before I am using my voice to say something that is not in the right space.
Mhm.
That being said, my choice in that way was to pay attention to brands because I know as a creator, I can look at whose voice I'm putting behind going forward. But one of the things that I've seen is which is great, is that a lot of smaller Black woman owned businesses are getting light shed on them that are amazing that you might not have discovered otherwise. Content creators, things of that nature, who are getting more, things that they should have had before, but getting more light sped to them. So I was going to ask this later, but I wanted to know if some of those conversations have changed creatively for you this week. Have you seen people kind of coming out of the woodworks that might have been quiet before, or if things are kind of the same?
No, I totally think that things are shifting. I think conversations are shifting, and they're needing to. My mom is a Black woman who is owning a small business right now, and so she's feeling the effects First of all, the outpour from our community of just wanting to support her, but also like social media. It's been really nice for her to get the shine that she deserves because the product that she carries is beautiful and it's amazing. And so I think my conversations with the creatives in my life has had to drastically change because now where it was how do we stay creative during quarantine, it's now how do we use our platform to make sure that justice is served, how do we use our platform to make sure that Black Lives Matter, how do we use our platform in a way that amplifies our mission, right? And so at this point it really is just conversations with creatives that say, okay, well, what do we do what do we do after the protests? We'll be that, well, our boots will be on the ground, but after the protests, what are we doing? How are we reminding our audience? How are we using the art that we create to make sure that it gives a consistent message? I keep saying this during this entire few weeks that constant pressure is necessary, and that'll have to happen through art as well. So the discussions with creatives is split because obviously we're all ready to get like back to work. Like I need to be on set like absolutely right now. So I'm trying to find the balance of using my talent and using my craft, and also using my voice. So I think like a lot of creatives, I'm just trying to figure out exactly how to do a good job and be a good person.
I think that's going across the board. What small business does your mom own?
My mom is a juice. She owns a juice company. So her juice company is called Yogi Juice Bar, and basically she just literally juices the most beautiful organic fruits and veggies, and it's centered around health and wellness. And she's doing such a great job. So I was actually just outside. She has her little headquarters here at our family home here in Atlanta, and she's got this big shed, and so we're shooting a commercial today. So I'm trying to like use my creative brain to help her with that. And so I'm having to get really creative in how I exercise the things that I love. So it's been really cool to, exercise that part of my brain, but be behind the camera for a change, which I actually really enjoy. So
Well, I would love to connect with her. That's definitely something that's right up the street of my audience and wellness.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
we'll have to connect. That might be an IGTV we can do. She can educate.
For sure. She would love to.
Perfect. All right. So let's backtrack
Yes.
and go into how you got started because you started young. Well,
Yeah.
young, I mean,
Right.
there's like 2-year-old young, and then
Goodness
there's
gracious,
like
yeah, I feel like I started extremely old, if that's how the narrative sometimes is painted. But yeah, so my dad is a musician, and I remember growing up and touring with him and seeing him transfer energy with his audience. And for me, that was like magical. Seeing him give energy to the audience and the audience give energy back, this tit for tat thing I thought was just beautiful. And I wanted to be a part of it. And so for years I would just watch and watch and watch. I knew I liked entertaining, I knew I loved making my family laugh. I just didn't know what that meant for me. And I also started to grow and started to go to middle school, and I was starting to feel a little bit of a shadow from my dad. And so I knew at that moment singing or rapping would not be my avenue into the industry. I just couldn't do it. So I was like, I don't want anybody comparing me to my dad. I don't want it. I don't want it. I was really, really scared of it. And so then I tried dancing, and dancing came a little bit easier to me. I love to sing, but it's just not it's not my thing. Nobody will ever pay me to do it. And so dancing came next. It didn't like spark anything in me necessarily, and then I tried acting, and I loved it. It scared me. It made me nervous. It made me super uncomfortable. It made me feel extremely vulnerable, and I think in that, even as young as I was, which I think at that time I was 10, I was like really attracted to the feeling of just discomfort. And I decided to put myself in that position and go to classes. And then I quit classes because it was too scary. I was in classes for I think maybe 3 months, and I quit. And I was just like, I can't do this. Like, I cannot, I just can't. I don't want to be in this class where people are judging me. They're telling me that I need to do it over again. It's not good. So I quit, and I sat on my couch and I was watching Disney Channel, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. Because China Anne McClain, I'll never forget it. She was on TV. China was on TV, and I was like, gosh, like I can be doing this. Like I could be right next to her. I could have a show just like her. And so I couldn't watch TV for another 2 months after that because I just was like, I cannot see someone doing what I want to do. Like I cannot see. I gotta. It just made me feel just terrible that I wasn't pursuing it. So after like months of just being angry at China and McClain, I'm kidding, but like after months of just wanting to just try it, I got back up again and I gave it a shot, and I did not stop after that. I was nervous for I was nervous for another 5 years of doing classes, and then I started to, do showcases around Atlanta. I met some agents, and I hit the road running.
What was the first thing that you booked?
TV1, Bad Dad Rehab.
Oh, our first show.
First show, yeah.
Well,
That was my first thing. That was like my first. I get a check at the end of this project.
I feel like that's a pretty. I mean, it's a nice entry level experience.
Oh my gosh, yes! I'll never forget it. Someone put lotion on my legs. I was like, "What?"
I just remember us having to discuss, like, you needed to take the bubble bath photos, and we were like, how does this happen?
Yeah, that's crazy. Like that's really crazy. And yeah, it's just wild. I was so excited. It was such a great, for me, experience, like first experience. You were there. I mean, it was just such an amazing crew and cast. I had such a great time, and no, it's amazing. It's
We
great.
had a good group. I don't think I'll ever forget just like Rob going into his trailer and knowing that the music level was about to go from like 0 to 100, and it was just going to be a party.
It was
Like,
gonna be party every time.
just a full-on carnival party
Right.
happening every day.
Carnival every day after lunch. He would get there, and I was not mad at it at all. That was like some of the best memories ever. So
No, absolutely. I definitely learned how to salsa in the parking lot of base camp there, because what else you gonna do?
what else you gonna do? We're waiting. We're 10 away.
But I mean, that's a big transition because you went straight from that onto a TV show.
Yeah, straight from Bad Dad to the Quad, and obviously, so much of me felt like, am I ready for this? Is this okay? Like, I don't know. Just so much of me felt like this was not. How did this happen?
Imposter syndrome.
Yes, every time, and every project I get, I have to tell you, I feel it every single time. Like I feel it every time. I don't know what it is. I'm working on it, but it definitely is something that I feel and have felt, and especially during that transition of Bad Dad to the Quad, and feeling like, did I work hard enough to get here? Do I deserve it? Am I experienced enough? And there's a lot of moments, and I won't lie to you, that I had to just kind of fake it till I made it. And if I went back, I think I would have asked a lot more questions, because there's so much to learn, but I wanted to look like I knew it all, or that at least whatever information was coming towards me was information that I could easily digest. And some of it was just like, it was just too much. So it was great. It was great. I wouldn't take it back for anything. I think I learned a lot during those moments.
But I feel like a lot of people have that in film. I was talking with Sadiqa in her episode and doing stunts, and we were talking about how for her, like doubling, she just Blendon, I think you've worked with her before or taken classes with her. So she was talking about how she just asked London everything because she had time to be like, who's that? What do they do? And who's that? And just, you don't, until you get on set, you don't know half the people that exist.
Oh my gosh.
You don't know what happened. Like, you think you know. And then we were joking that like you can take ceilings and walls off of rooms and things, and you're like, this is how that like works.
Right. Right. All of it is a mystery, which is so crazy. I did however many years of acting class and still doing it. And like, never have I had a discussion about like lighting and like none of it. None of it I've never had a discussion. What I understand that we're like focused on acting at the moment, but it's such a part of the entire process. Without them, we can literally do nothing. So um when I teach, I'll definitely be making sure people know what's really going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, for real. There have been times where I've had like, other people have educated me where it's like if you only sit, you're only in a certain space or you haven't experienced it yet, you don't realize that the 17 things that you don't know. So it's amazing that people are willing to stop and be like, hey, just let me help you see what you're not seeing right now so that you can communicate better what's going
Right.
on and we can understand and so on. So you went from the quad to what was your next? That was 2 or 3 years, right?
Yeah, the quad was maybe 2.5 years. I don't know. Yeah, 2 years maybe. So after the quad, I went to Gin. And Gin was my first independent film. It was my first lead. It was my first everything. Like I really felt like I grew so much during that entire process. It was also really interesting for me because I'm coming off of a show with trailers, with, huge hair and makeup, we had the whole Morehouse campus rented basically. Like we really had comparatively a huge budget. And then I go to LA, which I'm unfamiliar with. I'm terrified. I don't know if I can do this part. And we're like gorilla running it, like literally, like we're hopping off the train with the camera. Our DP is like running behind us. We're like, get it, we can get the shot, so it was really interesting just going from just two what felt like two completely different things. And if I had to be honest with you, I just thrived in that environment, that independent environment where I could kind of voice my creative like ideas and keep it moving. Just it felt just like such a beautiful ping pong of art, just kind of trying to get out there. And so it was beautiful. Jen was amazing.
I have it rented to watch. That's on my list this week.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask you what connected you with that role because I noticed that obviously growing up in the South, we tend to be more in the Baptist,
Right.
Christian, whatever weird bubble that exists past a certain border.
Right.
So connecting with the girl that you played, what kind of brought you to that?
Yeah, so my manager, she is fantastic because she's a reader. She likes to just read scripts, and it's hard to find in a team, but I'm so grateful for her because my manager Steph will read scripts and read them thoroughly and see if they're like just things that I'd be interested in. So what I told her at the beginning of our relationship and business partnership is that I wanted to tell stories that um, people may be a little afraid to tell. And so for me, as soon as I read the script, I was afraid to tell it because I was like, I don't want to disrespect anybody. I don't want to make anybody feel like I don't know, not being honest, not, I was very cautious. I don't necessarily identify with any religion at this moment. And so I felt like it was very cool to just experience this and really learn it. What was beautiful is that my character and myself were experiencing a religion at the same time, learning and experiencing a religion at the exact same time. So I felt like it was such a cool process to just kind of grow with my character and learn with my character and be scared with my character. And it was amazing. So yeah, my manager saw the script. She sent it to me. Originally, like I said, I was a little afraid, and then I went to LA to audition because I thought I felt something for it. Especially the idea of representing a Black Muslim girl who's trying to figure out who's fighting feelings of sexuality, feelings of my parents are divorced, just this idea that I think a lot of girls and Black girls as well are trying to navigate. And so I thought it was really beautiful that this story even existed because I don't know one like it. And so I had to just stay true to what I wanted to do in the first place, which is to tell stories that people are a little, afraid to tell. And I thought this was such a beautiful one. So I went to the audition, things went well, and I got a call maybe 3, 4 months later. They were trying to find funding. And so once I got the call, we were ready to go. And I was shipped to LA.
To LA. I mean, it sounds about right.
Right.
Just like here, this is your new home temporarily.
Right. No.
Good luck. Learn how to drive here. I mean,
Exactly.
I was in LA in October, and I think it had been a minute, and I was like, I was trying to like mentally prep myself for driving in LA. And then I was like, Atlanta might be worse sometimes, like depending on where you are. And I think it's because maybe some of the roads are so fracking narrow that you're like, no, there should not be 3 cars right here.
Which is crazy because I think I'm not so intimidated by LA driving because of Atlanta. Like I feel pretty comfortable there, like driving there. Like I don't have that much of a problem, which is really interesting. So,
Well, I had the same. I'd like hype myself up thinking it was going to be so
Right.
bad. And then I was like, this is nothing compared to like NASCAR Atlanta driving. Sweet
Yeah,
heavens alive.
this is nothing.
So, okay. You booked a CW show, and I want to ask about that because I feel like a lot of people think that once you can break the network barrier,
Mm.
that things just kind of skyrocket from there. Do you feel like anything has changed for you when you did that? I mean, and that and different networks are very different. Kind of getting in one versus getting in another. Everybody wants something different. Everybody has a
Right.
different look and feel, but do you feel like booking that and passing the CW bubble changed anything, or do you feel like it's kind of been a one-off experience?
My whole career, people have said, okay, well, once you've got a network show,
Yep.
things are just going to rain in. They'll be raining in. You don't even have to work for auditions. And I'm like, I've never heard that story, but I'm looking forward to it. Great. That's never been my experience. I've never just had an easy time at anything. Like any audition, like it has not been my story. So, to talk about CW, I think I don't know if I've necessarily, felt a difference. I'm working, so that's wonderful, but I don't know if it's any different, from going to be from BET, from TV1 to BET to CW. I don't think I've necessarily felt anything. I wanted to because that's what everyone said, but I don't know.
I mean,
Know.
give it
Maybe I'm
time.
not
You
ready.
normally see everybody. You'll be one of those people that in like a year and a half will be like, oh hey, look, she's a lead on this show now, and you'll start tracking the shows, and then in 10 years we can be like, these are all of the CW shows that Zoe has done.
Crazy. Yeah, that was a wild experience, but it was so much fun and first superhero experience ever. So
Finding representation.
mhm.
How did that go for you? Because I think that some people don't quite know how to navigate those waters.
Mhm.
And finding how did it go for you to have the conversations to find the people that you connected with that are part of your team now? Are you still with the same people you originally signed on with?
I am still with the same people. I think this is such a great question, and I don't know if people speak about it enough. I can only speak to my experience here in Atlanta, but I recommend to every actor trying to get representation to do showcases. Here in Atlanta, our pool for agents, casting directors is when you actually think about it quite small. So for me, I did showcase after showcase after showcase. And honestly, after maybe 6 months of like really just trying to focus on showcase and getting out in front of Atlanta artists, I think at that point I had really made contact with most Atlanta based casting directors and agents. So I would say if you can find a school that is doing showcases, having agents come at the end of those showcases, please sign up because that is such a big deal. I got my agent from LA and my agent here in Atlanta. by doing showcases. And the agent that I always audition for, George Pierre, I met him at a showcase. So, I made these connections. Networking is just huge. And in Atlanta, we're so lucky to have such a tight knit community. I think it's just really important. So that's where I started, and that's where I started looking for representation. I tried the whole searching, different agencies online, submitting, and that for me didn't work at the moment. Sometimes it's just really hard for them to get back. However, I will say during this pandemic, agencies have been doing a lot more to find new talent. So things are a little bit different right now. But I would say when the industry gets back up, it's so important to get out there and just be in front of these people, network, go to those networking parties. It's so important. And so I auditioned for my LA agent and my Atlanta agent, and I think I got signed and I was ready to go. That was the first. Those are my first agents, and that's who I'm still with. So
That's awesome. That's good information to pass along for new people who are wanting to kind of network that. So you have been in, I mean, I've had conversations with different people so far who have either had a career for longer because they're older than us and they have had to learn to negotiate social media versus this time where you have it and you've had that like instant connection a bit more. Do you feel like you've a bigger fan connection? Do you feel like your fans are really there? Do you feel like you're still kind of growing that community for yourself?
I 100% feel like I'm growing this community. Social media does not come natural for me at all. I feel like I'm gonna say this because I don't know, I'm just one of those people. I'm a Gemini, right? So I do a very, very good job at like almost it's the dual personalities. It's having two sides. I think on social media I can be very like pristine and this is what I think people want to see. So this is what I'm gonna give them. Oh, like pose, like that's what I feel like. That's what I feel like they want to see. It's I don't think my social media necessarily does a really great job at showcasing who Zoe really is. I'm a little squirrely and just a little silly, and I have a hard time showing that because for me, I'm a people pleaser and I want people to like me and I don't want them not to. And I feel like when I show as much as myself as when I'm talking one-on-one with someone, to say, okay, well, I think I have 11,000 now on Instagram. Like, some of those people aren't gonna like all this. So I'm like, let me just stay in my little box. I'm working so hard to try to get off of it because social media is not fun to me at all if I'm not being myself. So social media continues to not be fun. But I think as soon as I get the confidence to just allow myself to just be, I think I'm gonna have a really great time. And I think I'm also gonna notice a difference in what I see and the engagement that I see as well. So I'm working on it, but
I'm going to start calling you out on stories then.
please,
because I know your personality. So I'm going to be like, hey, listen, that's really cute, but that's not you.
Please say it. Please. My friends are saying it in my DMs as well. So I'm gonna do better. I'm gonna do better for you guys, and I'm gonna do better for me too.
And no, I understand. I got to that point where I think I started the blog 4 years ago, and I spent the first few years in that like, well, this is what everybody else does to succeed, and this is what you should do, and this is what it should look like. And then we all got trapped at home, and I was like, well, I guess would you like to see my dog? Like, I've been taking videos for everybody this week, and they're just going on Snapchat since I'm not posting them on Instagram. But Asher has a cone right now, and he's running into everything, and he gives no craps. And so then he just like whips his head. Oh my, it's hysterical. So everybody's loving it on Snapchat. I'm just like, guys,
well, I want to see it on Instagram. How about that?
You will get it on Monday after we are quiet for a week.
Okay, yes, that's true.
Or I will text it to you.
Yeah, you know what? Text it to me. Let's do that. Text it to me.
There you go. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, I feel you. It's a very odd space because the things that you're like, well, this is just normal. This isn't funny, but people love that. Yeah, you have the same crazy things that they do, or that you
Right.
love dogs, or that you ate some random food, like the things that people want to see from you.
It's wild. And me, it's like, are you kidding? Like, I spend most of my time at my parents' house doing weird things in the yard. Like, but I have to, I have to just allow my story to be my story and allow that to be special in itself. I'm not necessarily some ritzy girly girl who's like always getting, dressed somewhere, which is great. And I love watching those girls. But, you know, I am me, and I think there's some sparkle and special about my story as well. So I have to just keep saying that to myself. But
Well, normalize the in between. Make it so that people
absolutely.
remember that you do not have to glam up
Hmm.
every day if you don't want to.
Right. It's true.
The world will keep turning if you
The
don't
world
have
will keep
17 layers of extensions and eyelashes and SNS nails and fake
yeah,
tan and whatever.
the world will keep turning. That's very true.
I mean, everybody didn't have access to that for like months. So we all know that the world kept turning.
Oh, yeah. The world, let me tell you something. The world is turning. All right. Yeah. I was a mess.
Uh,
I still am.
so you were on, can you talk about the project that you were on at all in New York?
Yes, I can. So this is a really important project to me. I'm so excited about it. I have to be a little bit vague, but no. So this project is my first horror movie. I said last year that the thing that I wanted to do is horror, and at the beginning of this year, we started one. So, uh, this movie is really just what do you call it? A magnifying glass on a predominantly white institution. My character goes into it and finds out some really interesting things about the history of the campus. It's really fun. I'm alongside Regina Hall. Somehow that happened, and it's like crazy. And I'm also just with so many great people. So we shot unfortunately not as much as I wish we could have got down, but we had so many great things that we shot, and it's scary. I don't do scary movies either, so this is an interesting like um exercise for me, but it's really awesome. This is with Amazon Prime, and hopefully we can get it to you guys by 2021. But we'll see. We will see. I want to say, here's what I want to say is that first of all, I'm so proud of you, and I watch from a distance, but it's to me always amazing to kind of think back and then look at where we are right now and kind of just find it so amazing. And I feel so blessed to have met you however many years that ago that was. It feels like forever ago.
It
Um,
was 4.
no way. No, no,
Yeah,
no,
it
no.
was 4 years ago.
Is that true? Yeah, because I graduated.
You were the first so my first I think I transitioned out of like a 9 to 5 into film in 2014. And I had like a weird month and a half gap. I did an indie project I ended up kind of running base camp on, but
Uh,
not really.
mhm.
And then I worked at Tyler Perry, and then I had a gap, and then I did another round of shows at Tyler Perry. But your Dad Rehab was the first show that I did in the like that run of running base camp.
Wow. Okay, so 4 years ago, I want to say how proud of you I am, and just even having this podcast and having women come on and everyone come on and just be able to speak and talk and discuss film and this entire industry. I think it's really cool, and I'm very proud to know you, and I also am very like honored that you asked me to be a part of it.
I'm so glad you said yes. I mean, of course, I want all of the people who have good energy, but who are also, I think one of the experiences that I want as a part of this podcast is to invite a space where we can continue to learn and have the conversations that, you know, from film, from wellness, there have been a lot of conversations with people that I've had as I've seen more small businesses and things pop up of founders that I want to bring in and have those conversations to educate myself, to educate other people. But I also feel like and it's something that pretty much all of us have said so far, is that film is such a very weird closed space, and like you think you know it but you don't know it, and getting in is so hard.
Mm,
And unless you know somebody, it's just a really weird bubble to navigate.
right.
So I want to help kind of take away. Mahershala Ali was talking about it and a roundtable, I want to say a few years back. I think it was after Green Book, and kind of talking about the disillusionment there and how there's such more of a workmanship quality to being an actor, working on set, working in film, everything that goes on. And I hope that if we can demystify that a little bit and have honest conversations that obviously allow us to use our voices to talk about things that maybe people aren't quite ready to have a conversation about, but simply by hearing somebody that they admire have a conversation about, it makes them feel more comfortable with speaking about it.
Totally agree.
And it's a more powerful space. I think that we all go through the things that we go through for a very specific reason. And I when I wrote, I guess it was a couple years ago, I wrote a blog post after, I think it was like a year or so after my dad passed, about what it's like to lose a parent to suicide. And obviously when I went through it, well, not necessarily obviously, but when I went through it, nobody around me knew what to tell me. I mean, you're young losing a parent, but you're also losing a parent in a very specific way. That's just, you don't expect anybody to know how to help you, but if you can walk through it and share your experience so that somebody else knows that they're not alone, I
Right. Yeah.
think at the end of the day, creators on all levels, no matter whether you're a musician, you're an editor, you're a director, you're an actor, you're a writer, we're storytellers. We want to help you connect emotionally in a new way, and this gives us the opportunity to do that. We might be able to teach you something, we might be able to entertain you for a bit, we might be able to make you laugh, we might be able to help you get to know us a little bit better, and to realize that, you know, we are fighting for the art, we are trying to create things that help you connect, but we want a better world for you and for ourselves and for our children and for the people around us.
True. I agree with everything you just said.
Thank you. Let me chug my water over here.
Yeah, the gallon challenge, baby. Okay, maybe. I love kickboxing, so that's my constant. That's what I'm kind of into at the moment. So kickboxing has been such a release for me. So you know,
See, that would be another, I feel like I want to install the punching bag downstairs, but then I don't know if I get in a habit of punching everything when I was angry, and if I just could not turn that habit off in like public when I needed to be like, "Oh, I can't actually punch right now, my bad."
I find that it actually stabilizes any anger that I did have. So like because I do kickboxing in the morning, I'm like punching and like just getting all of this pent up anger out. I don't find myself really raging. I never really was a rager, but like I don't find myself ever really, feeling like I need to punch something like ever.
There
Ever.
there are a few people that I could punch through the phone this week. Like, if I
Oh
could
yeah.
just, like, reach through and just bop you on the head, would happily do it. If I
Yeah.
could go back in history and bop a few people on the head, I'd do that too. So,
Hey, I'm not mad at you. Sometimes everybody needs a little slap slap. Yeah.
just they need a little humility. We all need to be reminded that we don't know everything and we don't know what we don't know, and we are all wrong at some point.
Very true.
I'm very curious to see, personally, just as I've been watching things, how that goes forward, and the brands that I, I think in my heart, obviously, I feel bad for everyone. I hate that what's happening is happening, but it's also one of those, I think that
Mhm.
everything happens for a reason kind of thing. And I think that if all of the people who have the loud voices right now weren't in a, like, if we were all on set, things wouldn't be hammering like it was right now. The people who were doing publicity, who
Right.
couldn't be at protests right now, who couldn't be out there showing people that they mean more than just a tweet, that they are showing up on the streets right now. I think that's one of those like awful blessings that is
Mhm.
hopefully pushing the conversation forward, but I think that obviously 2020 is gonna be the year that changes businesses, changes the landscape of the way that we do things, and so many people are
Changes
just
how humans interact. You know, I keep talking about it. Obviously, um, with COVID and everything going on, I think the way that we interact with humans are going to be completely different. You know, the places that we go, the things that we used to not even blink an eye at are now we have to figure out, is it safe? And we do it 6 feet apart. And we, and I find it really interesting. I think, a lot of people, and even myself included, have been so over 2020. And I'm choosing at this point to just have a heart of like, I'm gonna make it through this year. I'm gonna make it through this year because first of all, I've learned so much. I've been so uncomfortable. I've had to scream. I've had to fight for the things that I'm trying to change. And I think because of that, 2021 or even the end of 2020, I think we are going to have. You're going to see stronger voices. I think you're going to see more change, more evolution. I think it's going to be. I have high hopes, right? To go through something really tragic and to go through something so terrible. I think growth is inevitable. So I think it's there's some good coming. I'm hoping.
is this the first year you can vote? You could vote in the last election, right?
Yes. Yeah.
How are you researching? How are you educating yourself for
That's a great
maybe your younger followers? Because I think that at it's really hard to find a way to educate yourself without everybody's bias.
right.
Like,
Absolutely.
how do you get the facts? There is
Mhm.
a website, and I cannot remember it, and I will link it in the show notes, that really kind of goes through all the questions of what you believe and where you stand and kind of helps you see who you align with so that
Mhm.
if there's a lot of noise, you can at least start somewhere and then pick the
Right.
people that you want to learn more about. But how are you
Right.
educating yourself right now?
That's such a great question. And I'm pushing it so much because at this moment in time, I think it's so integral, especially for the people that are my age or just now having the ability to vote. I think at this moment, we're fighting for so much. Wherever you are, there's something that means something to you. And I think the power of voting is really exercising that moment. So for me, educating myself on who to vote for or who I'm interested in all happens on YouTube. I am a YouTuber. I love watching interviews. I love watching people rant. I love just seeing people talk. Um, when that happens for me, that's how I download a lot of my information. Um, I like to typically get it straight from the source, and for me, that happens by watching interviews. I have people that I trust, and I trust their opinions. AOC, I feel like she is one of the people that when the time is right, I will be voting for. I'll go ahead and say that right now. But I watch a lot of interviews of women in politics speaking about issues that I'm curious about on either side. So for me, YouTube has been my biggest source of trying to just narrow it down. I'll go to each candidate. So, June 9th is when Georgia, I can vote. And so I have done my due diligence at making sure that I know exactly why I'm voting, who I'm voting for, and the times to go. My parents have done a really good job as well at not ever making me feel like I needed to go with whoever they're going with. And I've always found that really cool. But at the same time, I'm like, well, that means I got to do my own research because now I don't know who, like, I don't know who, what does that mean? Um, but I think it's been really cool to give myself the opportunity to just say, let's just sit down and figure out what you want. What do you believe in? How do you believe and who aligns with that for you the best? And so my biggest tool has been YouTube as of late. I'm able to hear perspectives that I don't necessarily know if I could have maybe read an article about and you know so YouTube has been really really helpful to me.
Well, I would imagine though, because I have a tendency to read people's body language. Like
Mhm.
you can put it on paper, but I want to know the emotion and the inflection and everything that comes with that. And especially as an actor, you're constantly
Yeah,
studying people and pulling from the ways that they interact. So I would imagine that seeing it in a visual perspective, so you can be like, all right, is this just your words, or are you actually like, is the
right,
vibe there? Is the energy there? Are you full of complete
right.
baloney right now?
Yeah, exactly. It helps a lot. I'm a visual learner, and I want to see. I want to get the little nuance of a personality, and it's been helping a lot. Just kind of seeing where I gravitate towards. So.
Do you have any particular channels that you watch specifically, or are you just tracking
Um,
specific candidates and watching their interviews?
yeah, I'm checking specific candidates. There was a couple of political channels that I got some really good information from.
If you
Uh,
can't remember them, you can text them to me and I'll put them in the show
yeah,
notes.
yeah, I can do that. And my dad actually sent me a link to some really great information about all candidates and even, at a legislative level. So I have that as well. So yeah, I'll definitely text that to you.
Please, that would
Yeah.
be great. I would
Yeah,
appreciate that.
absolutely.
Perfect. All right. So, what have you been doing for your mental health? What do you feel like has been mental, physical, emotional?
Mhm.
How have you kind of been taking care of yourself over the last few months?
I love this question because over the last year it's been so important to me. I have um began my practice in meditation, and that to me has been such a lifesaver because I have been able to um focus my brain, center my body. It's been such a beautiful thing, and I say practice on purpose because it is something that I would like to do every day. Sometimes I don't, sometimes I do. But it's been such an amazing thing to just kind of see what my brain is like quiet. I think a lot of times I try to solve problems by thinking harder about the problems instead of just taking a moment to recollect or to collect. And so meditation has done that wonders for me. That would be at the top of my list.
Do you have
Next,
a specific meditation that you I know there are multiple versions. I need to educate myself on them. Do you have a specific one or a
yeah.
specific app or tool that
So
you like?
I always recommend Headspace. Headspace to me is like a good grab and go tool to start meditating. As I continued my journey in my practice, I realized that I like vibrational meditation. So basically, it'll be just a different frequency or vibration that's going as you just sit in silence. Well, as you sit in that specific noise, it helps me just because I'm able to focus on something. Complete silence it doesn't do, it's just not my favorite. So I've moved on to vibrational meditation, and I'll send you this YouTube channel. But that's kind of where I was at. That's where I'm at this moment. So meditation is first, and then like I said, kickboxing has been something that just allows me. It's they're polar opposites, but they allow me to kind of work out everything that I need to work out, and been really therapeutic, I would have to say.
I think sometimes you have to physically, like, actually expel some of the emotion. Like, you need to feel it come out of your
Yeah,
body.
I totally agree.
I know there's plenty of places in LA that do, like, the massages that kind of release the emotional space that you're
Mm.
holding, and I would love to experience one of them
Me
because
too.
I feel like I just wanna know what I'm, like,
Right,
carrying around. I don't know about this little baggage that can
right.
just go on its merry little way.
I totally agree. I totally agree.
Well, if when you make it to LA next time, find the place for us.
Hey, I will do that in a heartbeat. I
You
really
can
will.
be the guinea pig.
Yes, I'm so interested in that type of thing. Yeah.
Have you watched any of, Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop Lab on
Yes,
Netflix?
I've seen that actual episode. Yes, I've
I
seen some of them, and I've been so like just obsessed with the idea of sending your employees out to do weird experiences. Yeah.
I feel like I want to experience it for myself to know what that's like because I think we walk around with that perceived notion of things and until we educate ourselves or until we experience it. I had a friend recently that when I was working in film, I used to try to go get massages regularly because, you know, we stand so freaking much that like
Right.
after a while I was developing plantar fasciitis. So I couldn't find a way to like get that foot release. So
Mhm.
I would get regular massages. And at one point, one of my masseuses told me that like she thought that my legs were uneven because I was kind of standing on concrete on stages and really like shifting my hips. And so last weekend, we're in the phase right now where it's literally all of my friends' 30th birthdays. So 2020 and 30th birthdays are just, I mean, we were already all mentally melting down about 30, and then you just throw 2020 in the mix and we're like,
Oh
yeah,
god.
no, I'm done. Call me
Yeah.
next year. We can talk at 31. Um
Yeah.
but we did a trip to Tybee Island for a friend. We rented a house and kind of
Oh,
just
that's amazing. Yeah.
hung out isolated. We did a ghost tour in Savannah, like
Wow.
I would recommend a different one, but it was still an experience. But we kind of she's a PT and they were like helping me kind of assess some of the stuff
Mhm.
that was going on because I've been running more and I was like, why does this one part hurt? Is it because my legs are off? Like why? And once they explained it to me, I was like, oh. And so
Mhm.
now that I've been running afterwards, like you have that confidence and you know that it's not what you thought it was. I'm like, oh, this is so much easier. I can do
Right.
this like that. Like I'm not worried about it kind of thing. So it helps to
Yeah.
know.
That's amazing. Absolutely. It helps to know.
It helps to know. All right. Do you have anything after your New York gig? Have you heard anything about what the next few months looks like for you? Or are you just in the never ending waiting?
I am in the never ending waiting. It's such an interesting time. I mean, like, here you are thinking at the beginning of the year, great, got a project, we're ready to go, ready to fire off. And then this whole thing happens and you're like, okay, I've done some interviews after and they're all, they ask similarly the question I want to know is what's next? Like, so it's a great question. I wish I knew because I have everything feels so out of my control. Like, but I guess what I would assume is after I finish this project in New York, I'll head to LA and just spend some time out there and get back in the room and audition and take some classes and just kind of like just do my best to be in the center of it all. So that's my plan.
Do you feel like you would like to go back to TV and kind of go through pilot season? Or are you really kind of enjoying doing more film based stuff where you have the different experiences and the different, like, you know, getting to explore yourself a little bit more? Because you're at that age right now where that's a gift that you to pick individual roles and get to learn about yourself more in that process.
Right. You know, I it's very interesting at this point. I actually really enjoy um being able to do a movie, be completely involved and just singularly think about this one story. I'm really enjoying making movies right now. Like I just really am. I think I never take myself out of pilot season, or I haven't for the last couple of years. If there's something that I'm really like just hype about, I think I'll always like I will always be right there. Like I'm always if there's a script that I'm excited about, there's no way that I'm gonna just cut it off. So at this point, I think I'll be participating in a pilot season esque type of thing, the Zoe way. And we'll see where it goes. We'll see where it goes after that. I'm all about scripts though, so I'm very script. Like I want to just see a really good script, something that I could have a lot of fun with as far as like acting and just discovery goes. So if there's a good script, I'm pretty much going into the room. If they allow me, I'm going. So
So do you feel like you're gonna it sounds to me like producing's on your path. As
for
passionate
sure,
as you are about scripts, I think it sounds like you're gonna get to that point where you're like, no, I just want this made. Like I just need this to be in the world.
for sure. Yeah, I can totally see it. I'm excited. I have a couple of things in the works that I'm trying to, get seen. It's a lot different than acting, and I think I've been learning a lot. But again, this quarantine has allowed me to just have a seat, write down the things that I need to write down, figure out the people that can help me with it. And so it's been really interesting. It's scary, but I have a lot of confidence in the things that I think I could show the world. So I'm excited to hopefully one day get it out there.
I think you will. I think you've got the energy that brings it there. And I think so much of that is, it's a collaborative process. It's being able to say, I want this to be the best that it can be. And I understand that as I have preconceived notions and I know what I know. And so here's what I can bring to the table. Show me what I need to know and show me how we can make this the best that it can be rather than the best that I think it can be.
Exactly. I agree.
Perfect. All right. So because I've thus far had film guests on, you get to answer the film questions.
Uh-oh.
All right. So do you have a quote or an affirmation that you've been leaning into this season?
I think it would be a little bit more of a prayer. And
That's
this
fine.
has been pretty constant. I always pray that God will give it to me when I'm ready. I never want to get anything, I would like to not get anything that I need to do more work for. I want to be ready for whatever big things are in store for me. And I want to be prepared. I want to just be patient. And if that takes me just having to put my head down and work and train, then I'm willing to do that. So at the moment, my prayer that's been there for quite some time is just to get it when I'm ready, and not when I want it,
That's a lot of faith. That's a very mature statement, because sometimes I'm far too impatient to operate down that path. So you are doing great.
Well, obviously there's moments where I'm just like, what's taking you so long? But when I come back down, I'm like, I want to be ready for it. I want to do it justice. So, that would be it.
Perfect. All right. Is there a favorite set that you've been on thus far?
Jesus. Is there a favorite set?
Or is there something about certain ones that you feel like was very specific that you loved? Maybe, obviously, you said Black Lightning was your first superhero set. That's every set's different. So if you have a favorite, or if there's been something that you just feel like, man, I'm so glad that I got to experience this one specific thing here.
Yeah. So I think Nancy Drew was my favorite set because it felt like summer camp. I was like, first of all, our entire cast and crew, female. It was
That
beautiful.
sounds like the dream.
Oh my gosh, absolutely beautiful. We were singing, we were dancing. Like, it was just an absolutely amazing time. We were out in the middle of nowhere, Georgia. So it was just us. And we were just causing a ruckus out in Monroe, Georgia. And it was just so much fun to feel like I was just with a group of girls, like solving mysteries in a city, like it was really fun and just sweet and pure. And so I think I would every summer I think about that. And I'm like, I wish I could go back to Nancy Drew summer camp.
Those are the best though. Sometimes you come out of a set and you're like, oh my gosh, this movie was, I don't know that you've experienced it, but it's been like one of those, and you're like, but I'm really close with everybody now because I just went through this experience. And then you have something like that where you're like, oh my gosh, we got to do all of these fun things for however long. If you could have any other job on set, what would you do? I mean, sounds like producing's on your path, but other than that.
If I could have any other job, it'd probably be set design. First of all, I love design. So it's just fun for me. But I also just love the idea of creating a place that someone has lived in before, like there's a whole world that goes along with this place that the audience might not see, but we meet them in this new set, in this new, environment, and it's supposed to look like it's lived in, and I think that's just such a cool job to be able to just like design worlds. And I love that. That's probably what I would do. And then after that, it would be crafty.
Which leads me to the last question, actually, but I'm going to skip a question to get to it. If there was a food missing from Crafty, like all of it, what would you be accused of having taken? You can have more than one if you need it.
Wait, so ask this the question one more time.
Okay. So let me put it this way. You know that there are certain departments that always are notorious for having stolen like one particular thing. It might be Larabars, it might be whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
What would you be what would they think that you stole? If it was all gone, they'd be like, Zoe took it. It's in her trailer. She took all of it.
Yeah. There are those chalky mints, like Lifesaver mints, the white ones. I'm always chewing on them. I don't know why, but like it just soothes me when I'm nervous. So they would have thought I took those. And then there's a pirate's booty. I always have the pirate's booty.
I feel like I remember that.
Yeah, they're like, airy popcorn. I'll always have that. Oh, but I snack at Crafty. I love snacking because I'll also take like, if they have little donuts, mine. Any kind of donut, it's all mine.
Everybody has a sweet tooth. That's like a consistent answer.
Right.
All right. Do you have any current goals that you're working on? Anything that you feel like this time has gifted you that you're kind of diving into and hoping to make a little bit more room for as well coming out as you go back to work?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have two major ones that are have been on my heart and my mind lately. I currently live in Atlanta proper, so I'm right in the city, in a little apartment. But my goal is to travel this year. I want to really spend some time in New York. I want to do theater. I want to be on stage. So, stage and theater have been something that I've been wanting to try. But I say that because the biggest goal at this moment is to actually leave the city. I'll be coming back to my parents' house. I am going to be building a little tiny, it's very weird, but building a little tiny home in their backyard, and I'll be there for a while. But it just cuts down the rent, it cuts down everything so I can go and travel and just be free. So I'm really excited about that. So the biggest goal I think would just to be to downsize a bit of what I have right now, to give me the ability to just go out there and experience different cultures and places and things like that. And then after that, I would say it would be to pitch my movie. I'm working on a FloJo story, and we're gonna see where it goes. I want to get some feedback from it. I want to see if it's even possible. But she's one of my biggest heroes, and I really would love to tell her story. So we'll see what happens.
I want to read this script.
Yes, I would love to send it to you.
Please. I have some people that are on Broadway that work kind of behind the scenes. I'll send you their Instagrams because I think you would love to follow along with things that are going on behind the scenes up there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, perfect. All right. Well, so those are all the questions that I have for you. Do you have anything else that you would like to chat about, add in, maybe point your audience to encourage them to do, anywhere that you would like to encourage donations, any causes that you want to bring light to? Because I'm going to put links and everything in the description for everything as well.
Absolutely. So I have a master link in my Instagram bio. This link has petitions to sign. This link has different information as to when voting happens in your city. This link is a master link of everything to make sure that we can really do our work and figure out what we can do in our different communities, to just first of all bring awareness, but also to keep people safe. And that's all people. And so I will be sending you that master link, and I will be making sure that you have it, because that's what I would like to say. And if anybody else is listening that is not sure if they should vote this next time, I hope that you do. I really hope that you do, because your voice matters and it's important. And that's it.
Yes. Good. All right. So tell everybody where they can find you online. We've discussed your Instagram, so I will link it down below if you want to spell it out, or wherever they can find you.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me on Instagram at the Zoe Renee. I post there pretty frequently. And I'm on TikTok as well at Zoe Renee 21.
Do you post on TikTok?
I'm posting more. It's so interesting feeling like I'm not on top of a social media craze. This is the first like new platform that is not even for like my generation completely. So like it's interesting navigating it. But I'm having fun and I'm learning dances and making jokes. So, it's cool.
No, I feel you. That's been my how do you post is like what do I post from the like personal standpoint to like business standpoint. So I
Right.
get it. It's a fun space. It's a funny
Oh my gosh,
space.
really
I
fun.
I watch all the dog videos. Like my
Oh
feed
yeah.
is
My
just dog
feed
videos.
is babies and activism, I think at this point. That's all it is. It's babies and activism. So, you know.
Hey, that's whatever works for you. I don't spend a lot. I've been actively hiding from my phone a little bit more and trying to create some space to get away from the
Yeah. It's important. That is
scroll
yeah,
addiction, but it's a great place to learn new things.
very important.
All right, guys, that is today's episode. So I will leave all of the links that we discussed in the description box below, in the show notes on the blog, in whatever platform you're watching this, so that you have a place to find all of the petitions, to find places to donate, so that you can continue to educate yourself for voting for anything where you just feel like, I really want to learn more, but I don't know how to do it right now, and I feel really overwhelmed by it. Hopefully some of the resources that we can give you and that we are giving you will help make it a little bit easier for you to do that. So all of those will be left. Please come follow me on Instagram at What Savvy Said. And if you want to follow the podcast, you can do that as well at What Savvy Said Podcast. And make sure you rate and review us on iTunes. Like this video if you are watching on YouTube. Subscribe for the newest episodes. I will be uploading stuff on my other YouTube channel as well, as there's constantly new content on the blog. There's new content on Instagram. Guys, we are trying to make sure that we can help you live your happiest and healthiest lives, whether it's recipes, whether it's clean beauty, whether it is sustainability. There's so many of those conversations coming, and I'm so excited to find new brands and share them with you, and to continue educating myself, but to help us connect with those smaller brands that maybe we wouldn't find otherwise. So help me help you, help me help these small companies, help us all succeed, and we can do it together. So I love you. You matter to me. It is a good day to have a good day, and I hope you'll have a beautiful day wherever you are. Bye, guys.